June 22nd, 1943, Wichita, Kansas. The factory floor never truly goes quiet. Even in the early hours before sunrise, when the Kansas sky is still dark and the air smells faintly of oil and rain, there is a constant metallic rhythm inside Plant 2 at the Boeing Aircraft Company. Pneumatic rivet guns chatter like machine gun fire. Overhead cranes groan as they slide massive aluminum wing sections through the haze. Somewhere down the line, a foreman shouts for clearance, his voice swallowed almost immediately by noise. At Station 47, Anna Kowalski tightens her gloves and leans into the fuselage of a B-17 Flying Fortress. She is 24 years old, 5'3". Her coveralls are too big in the shoulders, cinched tight at the waist with a canvas belt. A red bandana keeps her hair tucked away from the machinery. Her hands are already sore, the skin at her fingertips toughened and cracked from weeks of repetition. Anna does not look up when the rivet gun kicks to life. She braces the bucking bar inside the aircraft's skin, feels the vibration travel up her arm, into her shoulder, through her chest. The sound is deafening, sharp, mechanical, relentless. 3 seconds. 4. Then she pulls back. Another rivet set, another seam sealed. Above her, chalk markings scrawl instructions left by the previous shift. Below her boots, the concrete floor is slick with oil and sweat. The smell of hot metal hangs in the air. Somewhere not far away, a radio plays quietly. Swing music, barely audible, before a supervisor waves it off. Anna glances at the wall clock. 05:42. The bomber in front of her, rolled in less than 48 hours ago as a bare framework. By tonight, it will be moving down the line toward into final assembly. Engines, turrets, bomb racks. The pace is unforgiving, not because anyone is cruel, but because time itself feels like an enemy. She knows why. Her brother, Stefan, is flying these machines now, somewhere over Europe. The war has compressed the distance between Wichita and the skies over Germany into something almost tangible. Every unfinished rivet feels personal. Every delay feels dangerous. Anna had never planned to work in a factory. Before Pearl Harbor, she stitched dresses at a tailor shop on Douglas Avenue. The work was quiet, predictable. Then the shop closed. The men left first. Brothers, husbands, sons, drafted or enlisted. By early 1942, help-wanted signs appeared everywhere, but none like this. Women needed, no experience required. Help build the planes that will win the war. She remembers standing in line on her first day, surrounded by women just as unsure as she was. Housewives, farm girls, teachers, secretaries. Some nervous, some excited, all staring up at half-built bombers like they belonged to another world. The instructors spoke quickly, confidently. They had no time to ease anyone into it. "This isn't men's work or women's work," one of them said. "It's war work." By the summer of 1943, Anna has memorized the language of aluminum and steel. She knows the difference between flush rivets and universal heads by touch alone. She can feel when a rivet seats wrong before the inspector ever arrives. She knows which seams will take flak first, which joints shudder hardest during a hard landing. She also knows what happens when they fail. Pinned above her station is a photograph clipped from a newspaper. A B-17 returning from a mission, tail shredded, one engine gone, holes punched clean through the fuselage. The caption reads simply, "Crew survived." Anna does not think about strategy, or bombing doctrine, or tonnage dropped. She thinks about whether this wing will hold. At 06:15, a siren sounds. Shift change for another section. The line does not stop. It never does. Workers rotate in and out like parts in the machines they build. Someone hands Anna a fresh rivet tray without a word. She nods, slides it into place, and keeps working. Outside the factory walls, trains are already moving east, hauling completed bombers toward airfields she will never see. By the end of this year, more than one plane an hour will leave Wichita alone. Across the country, women like Anna are filling aircraft plants in California, Washington, Michigan, New York. They drill, rivet, assemble, inspect, repair. By 1944, more than a third of America's industrial workforce will be female, not as a symbol, not as a slogan, but because the math of war demands it. Anna feels none of that in the moment. She feels the vibration of the rivet gun. She smells hot metal. She hears the clock ticking. Somewhere far away, engines are warming. And whether those engines carry crews home or not will depend in part on the work done right here, by hands like hers, before the sun even rises. October 14th, 1943. Boeing Plant 2, Wichita. By autumn, Anna's hands have changed. The skin is no longer soft. The knuckles are scarred, the fingertips flattened slightly from months of pressure against aluminum skins and steel bucking bars. She no longer flinches at the noise. The rivet gun's staccato bursts have become background rhythm, like breathing. What still surprises her is the weight, not of the metal, though the wing sections are heavier than anything she had ever lifted before the war, but of responsibility. She feels it every time an inspector pauses at her station. He crouches, runs a gloved hand along the rivet line, taps twice with a small hammer. Anna watches his eyes, not his hands. When he nods and moves on, her shoulders loosen just a fraction. When he doesn't, time slows. "Pull this one," he says, pointing. Anna does not argue. She drills the rivet out carefully, cleans the hole, resets it. Mistakes are not punished, but they are not ignored. There is too much at stake for pride. During breaks, she eats lunch on an upturned crate with women she barely knew a year ago, and now trusts with her life. Margaret O'Neill used to teach 3rd grade. She now installs control cables and can thread them blindfolded through tight fuselage spaces. Lucille Washington left domestic work in Topeka and now inspects hydraulic lines, rejecting parts with an eye sharper than most engineers. They trade stories quietly. Who got a letter? Who hasn't? Which factory down the road is switching to B-29 production? Which rumor says losses over Schweinfurt were worse than reported? No one says death. They say missing. They say didn't come back. One afternoon, a supervisor gathers them near the line. He holds up a clipboard, face serious but controlled. "Listen up," he says. "We're behind schedule." No one is surprised. The 8th Air Force is losing bombers faster than planned. We're ramping up output. Mandatory overtime starts tonight. Groans ripple through the group, but no one refuses. They already expected this. The strategic bombing campaign has reached its most dangerous phase. Deep penetrations, heavy flak, fighter escorts stretched thin. The war in the air is chewing through airplanes, and the only answer is more. That night, Anna works until her arms tremble. She switches stations halfway through the shift, helping fit a wing route to the fuselage. The alignment has to be exact. Millimeters matter. The wing carries not just fuel and engines, but survival. A misaligned joint can mean stress fractures at altitude. A cracked seam can mean decompression. A rushed job can mean a crew never makes it back across the channel. At 01:30, someone brings coffee in dented metal urns. The smell cuts through the factory air like a lifeline. Anna drinks without tasting it. She thinks about Stefan again. His last letter arrived 2 weeks ago, postmarked somewhere in England. He wrote about rain, about mud, about the way the engines sound when they're climbing through cloud. They feel solid, he wrote, like they want to stay together. Anna folded the letter carefully and put it in her locker. She reads it when the line is slow, when doubt creeps in. In November, Boeing posts a new sign near the entrance. Carelessness costs lives. It is not propaganda, it is instruction. Across the country, similar signs appear in factories, turning out liberators, fortresses, Mustangs. Women learn to read blueprints, torque charts, stress diagrams. They attend night classes after 10-hour shifts. They quiz each other on tolerances and procedures while riding packed buses home. By early 1944, Anna is promoted to lead riveter for her section. The responsibility is quiet, unofficial, a nod from supervisors who know competence when they see it. She trains new hires now, showing them how to brace properly, how to feel the metal instead of fighting it. Let the gun do the work, she tells them. You're just guiding it. One of the new girls asks her, voice shaking. What if I mess up? Anna doesn't sugarcoat it. Then you fix it, she says, before it leaves this floor. Outside, winter settles over Kansas. Inside the factory, production climbs anyway. By January, Wichita is turning out bombers faster than the Luftwaffe can shoot them down. The war in Europe is shifting. Long-range fighter escorts are arriving. German defenses are straining. Losses remain brutal, but now, replacement outpaces destruction. Anna doesn't see that in headlines. She sees it in the tempo. The line never stops. The wings keep coming, and every time a finished aircraft rolls past her station toward final inspection, she reaches out and taps the aluminum skin once. Not superstition, not prayer, just acknowledgement. February 20th, 1944. Big week. United States Army Air Forces. Anna does not know the name yet. She will hear it later on the radio, spoken with forced confidence. Operation Argument. Big week, a turning point. But on the factory floor, there are no code names, only output boards, chalk marks updated every shift, numbers creeping higher as the days blur together. What Anna feels first is the pressure. It comes down through management meetings, through clipped instructions from foremen who have stopped pretending this is temporary. The air war has reached a scale no one planned for before the war began. Hundreds of bombers at a time, thousands of engines, tens of thousands of parts that all have to work, together, at altitude, under fire. The Germans are no longer just targets, they are reacting. Intelligence reports filter down in fragments. Enemy fighters concentrating around ball-bearing plants. New tactics, heavier losses. And then the quiet counterstroke. American fighters ranging farther, bombers hitting aircraft factories directly. Assembly lines burning on the other side of the world. What no one says out loud is this: the bombing campaign will only work if the Americans can afford to lose airplanes and keep flying anyway. That truth settles into Anna's bones as she works. The aircraft she helps build are not expected to survive forever. They are expected to survive long enough. That changes how she thinks about her hands on the metal. Inspectors begin stopping by more often, not because quality has slipped, but because tolerances are being pushed. Production engineers revise procedures to shave minutes off each assembly step. New jigs appear overnight. Old ones are modified instead of replaced. The factory becomes a living thing, adapting, tightening, accelerating. Anna trains 2 more women in February, alone. One of them, Ruth Kaplan, is barely 19 and struggles at first with the weight of the bucking bar. You don't fight gravity, Anna tells her. You lean into it. They work in silence after that, broken only by the hammering rhythm of guns and the clatter of tools. At home, Anna's mother keeps the radio on constantly. News comes in waves. Allied bombers over Germany again. Losses heavy. Enemy fighters shot down in record numbers. The announcers speak carefully. balancing optimism with restraint. Stefan's letters slow. When one finally arrives in early March, it is shorter than usual. He does not mention missions, only sleep. Only that the plane he usually flies has been reassigned. They say the new ones are coming faster now, he writes. You can feel it. There's less waiting. Less waiting. That phrase sticks with Anna. In March, the factory hits a milestone, a new production record. Management lines workers up along the taxiway as a finished bomber rolls out under its own power, engines roaring, exhaust shimmering in the cold air. Someone starts clapping. It spreads hesitantly, then fully. Anna doesn't clap. She watches the wing, the root joint she worked on 2 nights earlier. It looks clean, straight, solid. She wonders who will sit above it. Across the Atlantic, American bomber groups feel the shift almost immediately. Aircraft losses remain brutal, but squadrons are reconstituted in days instead of weeks. Ground crews work with parts that fit. Replacement aircraft arrive already modified based on combat reports. Armor thickened here, a gun repositioned there. The feedback loop is tightening. Factories listen, front lines inform. Design changes flow backward through the system. Women like Anna are part of that loop now, even if they never see it drawn on a chart. One afternoon, a senior engineer stops at her station longer than usual. He watches her set a rivet, checks alignment, nods. Good work, he says simply. It is the first time someone like him has said that to her. Later that week, she overhears 2 supervisors talking. Loss rates are dropping, one says quietly. Because of escorts, the other asks. Because we can afford to lose them, comes the reply. Anna understands what that means in a way few outside the factories do. The Americans have reached a point where the air war is no longer a gamble. It is arithmetic. By April 1944, women make up more than 1/3 of the industrial workforce supporting aircraft production. Entire lines are staffed almost exclusively by them. They are no longer novelties. They are infrastructure. Anna feels it in the way new hires defer to her, in the way inspectors trust her section, in the way mistakes are corrected quickly, without panic. The factory is no longer proving something. It is executing. On the night of April 24th, Anna works past midnight. As she finishes her last task, she notices something unusual. The radio in the corner is turned up. The announcer's voice cuts through the noise. Reports indicate the 8th Air Force launched over 1,000 bombers today. 1,000. The number hangs in the air. Unreal. Anna removes her gloves slowly. She looks down at her hands. Scarred, strong, no longer recognizable as the hands she had before the war. She thinks of the wings, the rivets, the inspections, the hours shaved from schedules, the girls she trained who are now training others. She realizes something quietly, without triumph. The war in the air is being decided far from the skies. It is being decided here, in places like this, by people who never leave the ground. June 6th, 1944, somewhere over Normandy. Anna does not hear about it until the end of her shift. The invasion has begun. The announcement comes not as a celebration, but as a bulletin pinned to a corkboard near the break room. A typed notice. Edges already curling from humidity and fingerprints. Some women stop to read it, others don't. Work does not pause. Foremen do not call meetings. The machines do not slow. They can't, because what follows an invasion is not victory. It is consumption. In the weeks after D-Day, production quotas tighten again. Not dramatically. Just enough to be felt in the shoulders, in the wrists, in the way lunch breaks shrink by minutes that add up to hours by the end of a month. Bombers are flying more often now. Shorter missions, heavier opposition, tactical targets layered over strategic ones, rail yards, bridges, troop concentrations. The aircraft come back with new kinds of damage. Flak-tearing skin differently at lower altitudes, stress fractures from repeated use. Anna learns to recognize the signs before inspectors do. Hairline cracks near fasteners, panels that flex just a little too much, rivets that look seated but aren't. She flags them, corrects them, moves on. There is no ceremony in catching a flaw, only relief. By July, Stefan's letters stop again. This time, Anna does not panic. She has learned the rhythms of war correspondence. Silence means movement, reassignment, operational tempo. When a letter finally arrives in early August, it is written in a different hand. Not Stefan's, it is brief, official, respectful. Missing in action. Anna reads it once, then again. She does not cry at the kitchen table. She does not scream. She folds the paper carefully and places it in the drawer where she keeps ration coupons and spare buttons. The next morning, she goes to work. On the factory floor, nothing has changed, and everything has. The aircraft keep moving. The schedules hold. The output numbers are met. The system absorbs loss. That is the cruelest truth of it. The same mechanism that allows bombers to return day after day also allows men to disappear without slowing the machine. Anna feels anger. Sharp, fleeting. But it has nowhere to go. There is no one to blame who would feel it. No lever to pull. So she tightens her focus. She double-checks measurements. She stays late. She trains faster. If she cannot stop the war, she can make sure the planes are right. By autumn 1944, the air war has turned decisively. German fighter resistance weakens. Escort fighters range freely. Bombing accuracy improves as losses drop. From the outside, it looks like momentum. From the inside, it looks like attrition finally favoring one side. Factories begin experimenting with faster turnover cycles. Entire aircraft are broken down, repaired, and returned to service in days. Parts flow not just from factory to front, but laterally, between units, between depots. Standardization shows its power. Anna watches a B-17 arrive with a wing panel damaged beyond repair. Within hours, another panel, built in a different plant by different hands, is fitted perfectly. No remachining, no delay, no argument. That moment stays with her. She realizes that her work is not about perfection. It is about compatibility. The ability for one person's effort to align seamlessly with another's, across distance and time. In November, a young man in a lieutenant's uniform appears on the factory floor with a clipboard and nervous energy. He introduces himself as part of a liaison team, gathering feedback from production workers. "What do you need?" he asks awkwardly. Anna thinks for a long moment before answering. "Clear instructions," she says, "and trust." He writes that down, surprised. Trust. The war has taught her that systems function not because people are exceptional, but because they are allowed to be human, to make mistakes, to learn, to be replaced without shame. Germany built weapons around mastery. America built them around continuity. That difference is becoming visible now, in the skies, in the maps, in the shrinking enemy response. In December, rumors spread of a German counteroffensive in the Ardennes. Bad weather, heavy fighting, high losses again. The factory does not slow. Anna notices something strange during those weeks. There is less fear, not less grief, not less fatigue, less fear. Because the system holds, planes lost are replaced, crews rotated, schedules adjusted. No one speaks of miracles anymore, only logistics. On New Year's Eve, Anna finishes a shift just before midnight. As she steps outside, snow drifts across the runway lights. A bomber taxis slowly past, engines rumbling, bound for another mission. She watches it until it disappears into darkness. For the first time since the war began, she allows herself to imagine an end. Not victory parades, not speeches, just the factory quiet. In January 1945, official word arrives. Stefan is presumed dead. Anna reads the letter standing this time. She folds it the same way as the first and places it beside it in the drawer. Then she closes the drawer. The next morning she trains a new hire. Because the war is not finished yet, and the bombers are still flying. March 18th, 1945, Boeing Plant 2, Seattle. The factory sounds different now, not quieter, if anything, louder, but steadier. The frantic edge that once clung to every shift has dulled into something more deliberate, almost methodical. The war is moving toward its end, but the work has not eased. If anything, it has become more precise. Anna notices it in the way supervisors talk. Less shouting, more checking, fewer emergencies. The system is no longer racing to catch up. It is running ahead of demand. By early 1945, the United States is producing bombers faster than crews can be trained to fly them. Rows of finished aircraft sit on aprons awaiting assignment, engines covered, cockpits sealed. Maintenance teams cycle through them anyway, inspecting, adjusting, preserving. Victory, Anna realizes, does not arrive as a moment. It arrives as surplus. The air war over Germany has become relentless. Missions launch daily, sometimes twice daily. Not because each strike is decisive, but because the enemy no longer has time to recover between them. That pressure, constant, unglamorous, mathematical, is the point. In the break room, a radio crackles with news from Europe. Cities captured, rivers crossed, German units surrendering in pockets, not formations. Someone cheers quietly. Someone else keeps eating. Anna sits with a mug of coffee gone cold, listening without really hearing. She understands now that the war is ending not because of a single battle, but because one side can no longer replace what is being destroyed. That knowledge is sobering. It strips away romance. It leaves only arithmetic. On the factory floor, Anna trains another group of women. Some younger, some older, some already thinking about what comes after the war. She shows them how to read wear patterns, how to feel vibration through metal, how to spot stress before it becomes failure. Don't rush, she tells them. The plane will tell you what it needs. They nod, unsure what she means. She wouldn't have understood either once. In April, news arrives that American and Soviet forces are closing in from opposite sides. Germany is collapsing inward. The bombers now strike targets closer to the front lines. Infrastructure, retreated routes, communication hubs. Less flak, less resistance. Still danger. Pilots write letters of gratitude that never reach the women who made their survival possible. Maintenance logs note aircraft returning with damage that would have been catastrophic months earlier, now simply repaired overnight. The system has matured. It absorbs punishment and continues. Anna walks past a finished wing assembly one evening, running her hand along the rivet lines without thinking. Thousands of small, identical fasteners, each placed by a human hand, guided by a jig designed by someone who assumed that hand might shake. Forgiveness, built into steel. That is what she helped create. On May 7th, the factory pauses for the first time since she arrived. Not for long, 10 minutes maybe, as a supervisor climbs onto a crate and reads the announcement. Germany has surrendered. The war in Europe is over. There is no cheering at first. Then someone claps, then another. Then a few women cry openly. Anna stands still. She feels relief, yes, but also something heavier. An emptiness where purpose has lived for years. Around her, machines hum back to life almost immediately. The war against Japan continues. Production will not stop. It will shift. But something fundamental has changed. That night, Anna walks home through streets filled with sound, radios blaring, voices raised, laughter echoing off brick walls. She passes strangers hugging, dancing, shouting into the sky. She does none of those things. At home, she opens the drawer one last time. She takes out Stefan's letters, the notices, the ration books. She stacks them neatly. Then she closes the drawer again, not in denial, but in acknowledgement. The war demanded replacement. People, machines, moments, and it did not ask permission. In the weeks that follow, demobilization begins in earnest. Some women leave the factories immediately, pushed out gently, then not so gently, as returning men reclaim jobs. Others stay longer. Anna stays, not because she is told to, because she is needed. Now, instead of building for war, she helps transition the line to peacetime production. Passenger aircraft, transport planes, cargo carriers that will stitch continents together instead of tearing them apart. The skills transfer seamlessly. Rivets are rivets. Stress is stress. Failure is failure. Only the purpose changes. One afternoon, a young engineer asks her a question that surprises him as much as her. "How did you learn to work this fast?" Anna thinks before answering. "I didn't," she says. "I learned to work so someone else could take over." That, she realizes, is the real legacy. Not heroism, not sacrifice in the abstract. Continuity. By the end of 1945, Anna walks through the same factory that once roared day and night under blackout curtains. Sunlight pours in now through uncovered windows. The machines are the same. The urgency is not. She pauses beside a completed aircraft. Smaller, sleeker, civilian markings already painted. She rests her hand on the fuselage. This one will carry families. Mail, medicine. It will fly, because systems were built that did not depend on miracles. August 15th, 1945, Seattle, Washington. The sirens sound again. Not the sharp, rising wail that once meant blackout drills and incoming bombers, but something looser now, celebratory, almost disorganized. Car horns join in. Church bells. Factory whistles, long unused for joy. Japan has surrendered. The war is over. Anna hears it on the radio while standing at her station, hands resting on cold metal. Around her, people freeze mid-motion. A wrench clatters to the floor. Someone laughs out loud, startled by the sound of their own voice. Then the line stops. Not paused, stopped. For the first time in years, the machines fall silent, not because of danger or shortage, but because there is nothing left to build for war. The stillness feels enormous. Anna removes her gloves slowly. Her hands are scarred now, calloused in places she never imagined when she first walked into the plant years earlier. These hands have held thousands of rivets, tightened bolts that would cross oceans, corrected mistakes made by exhaustion, fear, and time pressure. She looks around and realizes something unsettling. There is no single moment that marks the end, no closing speech, no final aircraft. Just silence spreading outward. Within days, notices appear. Production lines will convert. Shifts will be reduced. Some contracts will not be renewed. The word used is transition. Anna has lived long enough now to recognize careful language. Women begin leaving the factory in quiet waves. Some by choice. Some because they are told to. Some because they understand that the system which needed them desperately during war does not know what to do with them in peace. There are no parades for them, no medals, no formal demobilization papers, just handshakes, recommendations, polite thanks. Anna packs her locker one afternoon, folding her work clothes with the same precision she once used on aircraft skins. She leaves behind a pencil stub, a chipped mug, a pair of gloves too worn to be useful anymore. As she walks out, she passes younger women just arriving. Civilian hires now, learning the same skills she mastered under pressure. She pauses, watches for a moment. Then she keeps going. In the months that follow, the world begins to rebuild itself using the very systems forged in war. Air transport expands rapidly. Passenger aviation becomes normal. Cargo planes deliver food, medicine, machinery across oceans once crossed only by ships. The bomber factories never truly return to what they were before. They evolve, and embedded in them is an unspoken truth. Modern life now depends on production methods proven under fire. Anna takes a job at a smaller plant, quieter, slower, but familiar. She trains apprentices, men and women both, teaching them habits formed in crisis. Check twice. Assume it will be used badly. Build it so the next person can fix it. They don't always understand why she insists on these things. But the planes fly longer, break less, come home more often. Years pass. The war recedes into textbooks, ceremonies, carefully edited memories. The stories that survive are about pilots and generals, battles and dates. Factories appear only in the background. Anna marries late, lives modestly, keeps working. Sometimes she hears aircraft overhead and instinctively looks up, scanning for damage that isn't there. Old habits linger. In the 1960s, a historian interviews her briefly for a local project. He asks what it felt like to help win the war. Anna thinks for a long time before answering. "We didn't feel like we were winning anything," she says finally. "We felt like we were keeping things from falling apart." He writes something down, moves on. That answer never makes it into print. Decades later, museums will display bombers with placards listing specifications and missions flown. Visitors will admire their size, their power, their presence. Few will notice the rivets, the thousands of identical fasteners holding wings together, placed by hands that never went to war. Hands that learned speed without recklessness, precision without glory. Hands that built forgiveness into metal. Anna grows old in a world shaped by the war she survived from behind a machine. She watches jetliners cross the sky. Aircraft descended not just from technology, but from philosophy, standardization, redundancy, replaceability. The quiet lessons of wartime factories. When she dies, there is no headline, no ceremony. But somewhere, a plane lands safely, because a part fit the way it was supposed to. Because someone long ago learned that victory was not about brilliance in the moment, but about systems that endure mistakes. That is how one factory worker helped keep Allied bombers in the air, not by changing history in a single day, but by making sure it didn't fall apart tomorrow.